Hello students, today we will start our fifth lecture of Juris, and today's topic is the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and Rules 1945. Myself Jatinder Sharma, your teacher of Juris. In this chapter we will study about Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940 and Rules of 1945. The Drugs and Cosmetics Bill was passed by the Central Legislative Assembly and it received the assent of Governor General on the 10th April 1940 and thus became the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. This act seeks to regulate import of drugs and cosmetics into the country in order to prevent entry of substandard or harmful drugs and cosmetics. ये क्यों लाया गया कि जो बाहर से इंपोर्ट हो रही हैं आउट ऑफ द कंट्री जो मेडिसिन्स या कॉस्मेटिक्स आ रही हैं वो उनका स्टैंडर्ड सही रहे और वो हार्मफुल ना हो, इसलिए इसको लाया गया। सेकंड क्या था? एक्सरसाइज कंट्रोल ओवर द मैन्युफैक्चर ऑफ ड्रग्स एंड कॉस्मेटिक्स इन द कंट्री so that no substandard and superior drugs or cosmetics are produced. दूसरा इसका क्या मोटिव था कि जो लोग मैन्युफैक्चरिंग में हैं वो कोई सबस्टैंडर्ड चीज़ें ना बनाएं, कोई गलत चीज़ें ना बनाएं जो अप टू स्टैंडर्ड्स ना हो, है ना। वो उस चीज़ को कंट्रोल में लाने के लिए कॉस्मेटिक्स हैं जो वो स्टैंडर्डाइज बने, स्टैंडर्ड की चीज़ें बने। थर्ड क्या था? Provide for the regulation of sale and distribution of drugs and cosmetics whereby only qualified and trained persons can undertake their handling, compounding and distribution. एक क्या था कि रेगुलेशंस को इम्प्लीमेंट करना, उनको लाना कि जो भी बंदा इस काम में है उनको हैंडल करने में, उनकी कंपाउंडिंग करने में, डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में वो बंदा उसकी जानकारी रखता हो, उसको नॉलेज हो, पूरी क्वालिफाइड बंदा हो। ये नहीं है कि कोई भी फार्मेसी के फील्ड में है, कॉस्मेटिक्स बना रहा है, उनको कंपाउंड कर रहा है, उनकी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन में है, तो उसको नॉलेज होनी चाहिए उस चीज़ की। ये था इसका मोटिव, ठीक है जी। नेक्स्ट क्या था? रेगुलेट द मैन्युफैक्चर एंड सेल्स ऑफ आयुर्वेदिक, सिद्धा एंड यूनानी ड्रग्स वेयर एवर एप्लीकेबल। उनको भी रेगुलेट करना, उनको भी देखना, आयुर्वेद मेडिसिन सिस्टम को, सिद्धा मेडिसिन को और यूनानी ड्रग्स को, जहाँ भी एप्लीकेबल हो। दिस आल्सो प्रोवाइड्स फॉर द constitution of two boards, namely the Drugs Technical Advisory Board and the Ayurvedic and Unani Drugs Technical Advisory Board, to advise the central and state government on technical matters arising out of the administration of this act, to carry out other functions assigned to it by this act. एक क्या था कि दो बोर्ड्स बनाने, कंस्टिट्यूट करने, ड्रग्स टेक्निकल एडवाइजरी बोर्ड और आयुर्वेदिक एंड यूनानी ड्रग्स टेक्निकल एडवाइजरी बोर्ड। इन्होंने क्या करना था? ये इन्होंने एडवाइस देनी थी सेंट्रल और स्टेट गवर्नमेंट्स को इनके टेक्निकल मैटर्स के लिए, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए, जो भी एक्ट के अधीन वो कह सकते हैं। Next, the Drugs and Cosmetics Rules 1945 have been divided into 18 parts, each dealing with a particular subject. There are two schedules of the Act and third schedules to the rules. Drugs and Cosmetics जो rules है 1945 have been divided into 18 parts. इसको 18 भाग में बांटा गया है। इसके 2 शेड्यूल्स हैं, एक्ट्स हैं, एंड थर्ड शेड्यूल क्या है और वो रूल्स हैं उसमें। अभी हमने देखा था ना, इसकी डेफिनेशन देखेंगे कि क्या है। अकॉर्डिंग टू द ड्रग्स एंड कॉस्मेटिक्स एक्ट 1940, आयुर्वेदिक सिद्धा और यूनानी ड्रग्स includes all medicines intended for internal or external use for or in diagnosis, treatment, mitigation or prevention of disease or disorder in human beings or animals and manufactured exclusively in accordance with the formulae described in the authority books of Ayurvedic Siddha and Unani Tib system of medicine specified in the first schedule. Next is cosmetic, means any article intended to be rubbed, poured, sprinkled or sprayed on or introduced into or otherwise applied to the human body or any part thereof for cleansing, beautifying, promoting attractiveness or altering the appearance, and includes any article intended for use as a component of cosmetic. Drug includes all medicines for internal or external use of human beings or animals, and all substances intended to be used for or in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation or prevention of any disease or disorder in human beings or animals, including preparations applied on human body for the purpose of repelling insects like mosquitoes. इसमें क्या कि ड्रग किस चीज़ को माना जाता है, ये चीज़ बताई गई। Such substances other than food intended to affect the structure of any function of the human body are intended to be used for the destruction of vermin or insects which cause disease in human beings or animals, as may be specified from time to time by the central government by notification in the official gazette. All substances intended for the use as components of the drug, including empty gelatin capsules. Such devices intended for internal or external use in the diagnosis, treatment, mitigation or prevention of disease or disorder in human beings or animals, as may be specified from time to time by the central government by notification in the official gazette. Patent or proprietary medicines. In relation to Ayurvedic, Siddha or Unani systems of medicine, all formulations containing only such ingredients mentioned in the formulae described in the authority books of Ayurveda, Siddha or Unani systems of medicine specified in the first schedule, but does not include a medicine which is administered by parenteral route, and also a formulation included in the authority books as specified in clause A. In relation to any other systems of medicine, अगर कोई और सिस्टम है मेडिसिन का, a drug which remedy or prescription presented in a form ready for internal external administration of human beings or animals, and which not included in the edition of the Indian pharmacopoeia, time being for any other pharmacopoeia authorized in this by the central government after consultation with the Drug Technical Advisory Board. Misbranded drugs. A drug is termed as misbranded. Misbranded कब बोलेंगे उस ड्रग को, उसको कैसे डिफाइन करेंगे? If it is so colored, coated, powdered or polished that demands concealed, or if it is made to appear of better or greater therapeutic value than it really is. If it is not labeled in the prescribed manner. If its label or container or anything accompanying the drug bears any statement, design or device which makes any false claim for the drug or which is false for misleading any particular. Adulterated drugs. A drug is termed as adulterated. उसको अडल्ट्रेटेड ड्रग कब बोलेंगे, उसकी क्या डेफिनेशन दी गई है इसमें? इफ इट कंसिस्ट्स इन होल और इन पार्ट ऑफ एनी फिफ्थ portrayed or decomposed substance, if it has been prepared, packed or stored under instantary conditions whereby it may have been contaminated with fifth or whereby it may have been rendered injurious to health. If its container is composed in whole or in part of any poisonous or deleterious substance which may render the contents injurious to health. If it bears or contains for purposes of coloring only a color other than one which is prescribed. If it contains any harmful or toxic substance which may render it injurious to health. If any substance has been mixed therewith so as to reduce its quality or strength. Capricious drugs. What is its definition? इसको कब मानते हैं? If it is imported under a name which belongs to other drugs. हम import तो कुछ और कर रहे हैं, लिखा है हमने import में क्या है कि पैरासिटामोल कर रहे हैं, लेकिन आ कुछ और रही है, आ कोई और साल रहा है, तो हम क्या बोलेंगे उसको, ये कैटेगरी में फॉल करता है. If it is an imitation of or is a substitute for another drug or resembles another drug in a manner likely to deceive or bears upon its label or container the name of another drug unless it is plainly and consummedly marked so as to reveal its true character and its lack of identity with such other drug. If the label or container bears the name of an individual or company purporting to the manufacture of the drug, which individual or company is fictitious or does not exist. If it has been substituted wholly or in part by another drug or substance. If it purports to be the product of a manufacturer or whom it is not truly a product. Schedules of the Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940. There are two schedules of the Act which give the following information. The first schedule, names of books under Ayurvedic and Siddha system. Second schedule, standards to be complied with by imported and the drugs manufactured for sale. sold, stocked, or exhibited for sale or distribution. Schedules to the rules. The schedules to the rules provide the following. Schedule A, specimen of the prescribed forms for making application for licenses, issue and renewal of licenses, for sending memorandums, etc. Schedule B, rates of fees for test or analysis by the Central Drugs Laboratory or the governmental analyst. Schedule C and C1, list of biological and other special products import, manufacture, sale and distribution where whose governed by special provisions. Schedule D, list of drugs that are exempted from certain provisions that are applicable to the import of drugs. Schedule E, list of poisonous substances under the Ayurvedic, Siddha and Unani systems of medicine. Schedule F and F1, special provisions applicable to the production, testing, storage, packing and labeling of biological and other special products. Schedule F2, details of standards of surgical dressings. Schedule F3, details of standards for sterilized umbilical tapes. Schedule FF, details of the standards for ophthalmic preparations. Schedule G, list of substances that require to be used only under medical supervision and which are required to be labeled accordingly. Schedule H, list of substances that should be sold by retail only on the prescription of a registered medical practitioner. Schedule J, list of diseases or ailments which a drug may not purport to prevent or cure. Schedule K, list of drugs that are exempted from certain provisions relating to the manufacture of drugs. Schedule M, good manufacturing practices and requirements of the factory premises, plants and equipment. Schedule M1, requirements of factory premises, etc. for the manufacture of homeopathic drugs. Schedule M2, requirements of factory premises for the manufacture of cosmetics. Schedule M3, requirements of factory premises for the manufacture of medical devices. Schedule N, list of minimum equipment which a pharmacy should possess. Schedule O, provisions applicable to black disinfectant fluid. Schedule P, life periods of drugs. Schedule Q, list of coal tar colors permitted to be used in cosmetics. Schedule R, standards for mechanical contraceptives. Schedule S, standards for cosmetics. Schedule T, requirements of factory premises and hygienic conditions for Ayurvedic, including Siddha and Unani drugs. Schedule U, particulars to be shown in manufacturing, raw materials and analytical records of drugs. Schedule U1, particulars to be shown in manufacturing, raw materials and analytical records of cosmetics. Schedule V, standards for patent and proprietary medicines. Schedule W, list of drugs which can be marketed under generic names only. Schedule X, list of drugs whose import, manufacture and sale, labeling and packaging are governed by special provisions. Schedule Y, requirements and guidelines on clinical trials for import and manufacture of new drugs. Sale of drugs. Sale may be defined as a contract whereby the seller transfers or agrees to transfer the property in goods to the buyer for a price. Sale or drugs can be by way of wholesale from the stockist to the shopkeeper, retail sale from shopkeeper to patients. With the Enforcement of Drugs and Cosmetics Act 1940, the sale of drugs has become a restricted practice, and only those persons who have been granted licenses by the licensing authorities of the states can engage in themselves in the wholesale, retail, compounding or dispensing of drugs. For the purpose of granting sale licenses, the drugs have been divided into the following categories. Drugs specified in Schedule C and C. Drugs specified in Schedule X. Drugs other than those specified in Schedule C and X. Retail. The retail and wholesale license are granted with respect to all the above three categories. The wholesale and distribution of drugs specified in Schedule C and C and other than those specified in Schedule C and C1 and X is also permitted from motor vehicles provided a license is taken for the same. Restricted licenses to vend drugs other than those specified in Schedule C are also issued to persons who undertake distribution of drugs in sparsely populated areas where there are no other agencies for the distribution of drugs, or to bona fide traveling agents of firms dealing in drugs. Permission to vend Schedule C and C1 drugs to the medical professionals or to dealers may also be granted to traveling agents of firms. No license is, however, required for the free distribution of samples of medicines to the medical practitioners, hospital, dispensary, etc. by the agents of licensed manufacturers or licensed importers of drugs. A license for the sale of drugs remains valid up to 31st December the year following the year in which license is generated or renewed. Application for the renewal of the license may be made with 6 months to the date of its expiry. In the event of any change in constitution of licensed firm, the licensee should inform the licensing authority. Licenses of such firms are deemed to be valid for a period of 3 months from the date of change, unless in the meantime a fresh license has been obtained. Forms of licenses. The following forms are required for the issuing of licenses in the different categories. Number 1 is retail sale. First, Form 20 of drugs other than those specified in Schedule C and X. Form 21 for drugs specified in Schedule C and excluding X. Form 20F for drugs specified in Schedule X. Second is wholesale. Form 20B for drugs other than those specified in Schedule C and X. Form 21B for drugs specified in Schedule C and C excluding X. Form 20G for drugs specified in Schedule X. Third, restricted license. Form 20A for drugs other than those specified in Schedule C and X. Form 21A for drugs specified in Schedule C and excluding X. No license is granted in this category for drugs specified in Schedule X. Thank you, students, for attending this lecture. I hope you all will go through this lecture and you will understand this. If you have any queries, you can contact me. Thank you once again. You can call me anytime or message me if any queries. Thank you, students.